Hey, alright. So tell me everyone if things are lagging or if I fixed the issue. Alright, things should be good. Yeah, okay. Hey Alexander, Sunny again, hey. Alright, so hopefully things are good now, and yeah, without further ado, let's actually start making our 2D top-down shooter using Unity and C#. And if you want some more info, if you missed the very beginning of the live, you can always look at the little announcement video I made to have a more clear idea of what we'll be making throughout this, I think, 45-minute to 1-hour stream. So, first things first, we need to actually get our player character moving around the environment. Okay, no lag anymore, awesome. That is just so good to hear. Alright, so I've just made these two very simple sprites using Adobe Photoshop. So I've basically got this circle and this, basically this cool looking cursor. You can definitely go ahead and make those in Photoshop, or you can just use Unity's basic sprites, its default sprites. I'm just going to use this simple circle, drag and drop it inside my scene, and call it player. And I'm going to start by creating a scripts folder, scripts, and we're going to actually get our player character moving around the environment. So I'll create a new C# script, call it player, player, and open it up inside of Mono Develop. Now, just for those of you having not seen the announcement video, this is a real beginner tutorial, so if you're new to Unity, you should be able to follow along quite easily. Alright, let me check the chat. Alright, there's a few tutorial requests. Of course, I'll be answering all your questions if you have any by the end of the live, so definitely stick around for that if you have any questions or video requests. Okay, so let's actually start creating this player controller. So I'm going to get rid of all this, and I'll start by making a public float variable called speed, which will, as the name implies, just dictate how fast our character is going to move around the environment. I'll then grab a reference to my 2D rigid body, because we're going to be moving our player character using physics. So we definitely need the rigid body 2D, and in my start function, I'll grab a reference to that rigid body by setting it equal to getComponent rigid body 2D. Alright, so now what we need to do in our update function is actually gather player input. In other words, we're going to have to check whether or not our player is actually holding down the arrow keys, and if he is, we'll get him moving. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to make a vector2 variable right in here and call that move input. I'll then set that equal to a new vector2, and inside, and for the x value, I'll set that equal to input.getAxis horizontal. And for the y-axis, I'll set that equal to input.getAxis vertical. So basically, whenever we hit the arrow keys, move inputs will have different x or y values. I'll now make a last variable right up here called, I'm just going to set that to private of type vector2, and I'll call it move velocity. Whoops, move velocity, and I'll set that equal to move input.normalized. And the reason I type .normalized is because if we don't, when the player moves diagonally, he'll move a lot faster than when he moves up, down, left, or right. So don't forget the .normalized, and then I'll multiply that with speed. Alright, let's make sure everybody's following along nicely. The stream has some consistent FPS drops as you're typing. Alright, tell me if that becomes really bothering. I think the settings are pretty good for now, so I'm not going to redo the stream, but hopefully that won't bother you too much. Okay. Alright, awesome. So now, all this code won't actually get our player character moving around the scene. We now need to move him using our rigid body. So whenever you're moving a character or an object with physics, so with rigid bodies, you usually write all that code inside of the fixed update function. And I'm going to be using the move position function that comes with Unity, and all I need to type in these parentheses is rb.position plus move velocity times time.fixed delta time. Now hopefully this is quite clear. If you're really confused, I have a whole tutorial on this, on how to make exactly this script. It's 6 minutes long and I go in a lot more detail. So if you want to understand this a little better, I highly recommend you check that out after the stream. But yeah, that's basically, this code is basically going to get our player character moving around the environment. So I'm going to grab our player, I will drag and drop my player script onto him, type in some value for speed. I think 35 should be nice. And I'll also add a 2D rigid body. And don't forget, we need this 2D rigid body or our player will not move. And I'll also set the body type to kinematic, so he's not influenced by any external forces. So let me hit play, test this out, and things should be working really nicely. Now if you want the movement to be a little more snappy, remember the cool trick just to type in input.getAxis raw instead of getAxis. It's a nice little trick that you can use to get more snappy, responsive movements, as you can see right here. Alright, let's make sure everybody's following along nicely. 2D endless runner can probably be made in a solid 15 minutes. Yeah, most probably. A nice endless runner could be made very quickly. Okay. So there's no questions. I hope everybody's following along nicely. What's the difference between rb.movePosition and rb.velocity? rb.velocity is basically influencing the speed of the rigid body, its forces, and rb.movePosition is basically moving the rigid body from one position to another. Hopefully that makes a little sense. It's true, the difference is quite hard to explain, but in this case, rb.movePosition is easier to use and quicker. Okay, so now that our player character is moving around the scene, let's actually make an enemy. So I'm going to duplicate our player. I'm going to get rid of the player component and the 2D rigid body, and I'm going to create a new script called enemy. And so we're going to make a very simple enemy AI where he's just going to be following the player, trying to reduce his health to 0. So I will rename this object to enemy, drag and drop that onto the enemy. I'll also give him a red color so we can differentiate him from the player. And I'm going to open that up and begin coding this simple AI movement. And for those of you having seen my enemy AI tutorial, you'll know how to do this. It's very easy. I'm just going to create a public float variable called speed as usual. And in my update function, I'm going to want to move the enemy, so the enemy's position, using vector2.move towards. And I'm going to want to move this enemy from his position to the player's position. So obviously I need to grab a reference to my player, and the way I'm going to do that is just make a private variable of type transform called player pose for position. And in my start function, I will set player pose equal to whatever game object in my scene which has a tag of type called player, and more precisely the transform component of that object. So .getComponent transform. And now all I need to do to get my enemy moving towards the player is type transform.position, and then, so that's the enemy's position, and then I need to type in what position I want him to move towards. So the player position, of course. And at what speed, so I'll just put in speed times time.delta time. Awesome. And now our enemy will actually move towards the player character. Of course, do not forget to add the player tag to that player, or the enemy will just not find him. Oh, there seems to be an error. And of course, that's because I forgot to type in .position, because we're moving towards a position and not just some player pose, which doesn't make any sense. And now I'll be able to type in some value for the enemy's speed. I think 10 should be perfect. And there we go, our enemy character is actually moving towards our player. Awesome. I'll check the chat. Oh, look, there's my brother Liam who's joined in on the stream. Hey, Liam. Oh my. There's actually Emma here as well. Awesome. Goodness me. Okay, there's Raph. Alright, so things seem to be going along nicely. Cool. Alright, so let me continue. So we've got our enemy actually following the player. We've got the player following, we've got the player who can move around. Now, I think we're going to actually get the enemies spawning around the environment. That's the next step in this 2D top-down shooter. So I'm going to create an empty game object. I'll reset its position and call it spawner. And underneath this spawner game object, I'm going to create a couple spawn points. And this is basically the positions where enemies are going to spawn from. So I'll call this spawn point, and I'm going to also give it a little gizmo so we can easily see it. In the scene view. I'm also going to increase the size of those gizmos. So there we go. Now we can see where our spawn points are. And I think I'm going to duplicate this several times around the map. I think that should do something like that. And now I'm going to create a new C# script called spawner. Drag and drop that onto the spawner game object and open it up. So now we're going to actually get our enemies instantiating themselves at a random position and at a certain interval of time. So this is really easy peasy. The first thing we need to do is create a public game object variable called enemy. Let me make sure things are going along well. Cool. Alright guys, of course, don't hesitate to ask me questions if you have any problems, if you're not understanding something. Yeah, definitely don't hesitate. Why not use .transform? For what exactly? Alright. Okay guys, so if you got any questions, don't hesitate. In the meantime, I'm going to continue making the spawner script. So I'm going to make another variable. No, actually, I'm going to make an array now of type transform called spawn spots or something like that. And so we're going to be grabbing a random spawn spot every X amount of seconds and spawn an enemy. So I'm going to make that variable a private variable of type float called time between spawns, as well as a public float called start time between spawns. And now this may be a little confusing, but if you've watched a couple of my tutorials, you'll understand where all this is leading us to. In my update function, I'll make an if statement and check whether time between spawns is less or equal to 0. Now, if it is, that means it's time to actually spawn an enemy inside of our game view. If not, we're simply going to decrease the time between spawns value. So using minus equals time dot delta time. As easy as that. And so if time between spawns is less or equal to 0, let's spawn in an enemy using instantiate. So I'll type in instantiate. Now, inside the parentheses, I need to dictate, now I need to say what I want to spawn, so the enemy, and at what position. So here's where our little randomness comes into play. I'll make an int variable called randPose, and set that equal to a random number between 0 and the number of elements inside of my spawn points, my spawn spots, array. And so I'll then say spawn spots, it's quite hard to say, and a random position. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically, we're taking a random spawn spot from our array and then spawning an enemy at that random spawn spots position. And with no rotation, of course, using quaternion.identity. Now, one last thing we need to do before testing all of this out is make sure to reset time between spawns. Otherwise, enemies will just spawn every single frame our game runs, and the game will crash. So I'll type in time between spawns is equal to start time between spawns. So hopefully now you understand why I made these two variables. So instead of hard coding the value, we can just easily tweak it inside of the inspector. I think I'll also set time between spawns equal to start time between spawns inside the start function. Alright, so that's the spawner script all done. Let me check the chat. So Liam's explaining some stuff. Thank you, bro. Okay. Oh yes, right. You're completely right, Marcel. I need to actually set spawnpods.length, spawnspots.length -1. Otherwise, there'll be a little error because remember arrays start at 0 and they don't start at index of 1. It's a little confusing, but yeah, well spotted. Put in that -1. Okay, so now, I've got an error. Let me check this error. Instantiate. Oh, again, I made the same mistake. I need to make sure to put in dot position, or we're not actually spawning at any position, and it doesn't make any sense. So don't forget the dot position for the location of our spawned enemy. Those errors should disappear right now. Awesome. And so yeah, there we need to drag and drop our enemy character. What we're going to do is first of all create a folder called prefabs and drag and drop that enemy inside of the prefabs folder. So we're basically making a prefab out of our enemy. I'm going to delete it from the scene view, and I'm just going to drag and drop the enemy inside of that empty slot. Awesome. And now I need to drag and drop all of my spawn spots inside of this spawn spots array. So I'm going to lock the inspector. This is a cool trick to quickly drag and drop loads of elements inside of the same array. You just lock the inspector, shift select all the spawn points, and then drag and drop them inside of the array. And you'll see they'll all be added to the array, which is a nice little trick, very known, but yeah, it's good to know. And for start time between spawns, I'll say every 1.5 seconds there'll be an enemy spawning in our scene. Of course, you can play around with this, you can tweak this as you like, but yeah, that's the value I'm going to give the spawner. And hitting play, we should see enemies spawning every 1.5 seconds, as you can see right here. Awesome. So things are working really well, but of course now we need to give our player a way to defend himself. So let's actually create the very simple little shooting system. So I'm going to drag and drop, what I'm going to first of all do is create a new C# script, and I'm going to call this shooting, and open this up inside of mono develop. So what we need to do here is basically I'm going to want the player shooting and aiming with the mouse. So wherever he clicks on, that's where the shot is going to move towards. So it's very straightforward stuff to do. If you've checked out my customizable cursor tutorial, you should have absolutely no problem with this. But anyway, I'm going to show you this step by step right now. Let me check the chat first of all. Your chef enemies can spawn on all spawner. I think the last spawner of the array will never spawn. Some of you are wondering if this -1 is really necessary. I think you're actually right. Actually, I always get confused with this, but you know what? I'm going to get rid of the -1, and if there's an error, I know I'll just need to add a -1. But yeah, let's just remove that, and I think things should work nicely. Okay, so with that done, let's actually start creating our shooting script. This is really easy stuff. I'm going to create a public game object variable called shot. Basically, the projectile our player character will be shooting. And we want this shot as soon as it spawns. No. Yes, sorry. So we're going to want to check if we actually click our left mouse button. So I'll type input.get mouse button down, and I'll type in 0 for left. If you want to use the right mouse button, you'll just type in 1, and if you want the middle mouse button, it will be 2. But usually it's the left mouse button, so I'll type in 0. and then I'll instantiate that shot. So I'll instantiate shot at the player's position. So I'm going to grab a reference to the player. So I'll type in private, transform player pose. And in my start function, I'll type in player pose is equal to the component of type transform. Because obviously we will be drag and dropping this script onto our player character. Whoops, player pose, excuse me. And now all I need to do is type player pose, and don't forget the dot position, and I don't want any rotation, so quaternion dot identity. So now our player character will be able to shoot these various shots. Oh, there seems to be a little error. Of course, I forgot the semicolon. So now the player character will be able to shoot various projectiles. So I'll drag and drop the shooting script onto him, and I need to create a projectile. So I'll just drag and drop this little circle, scale it down a little. I'll unlock the inspector. Don't forget to unlock the inspector. See, right now I actually drag and dropped my shooting script onto the spawner, which we definitely don't want. I'm going to instead drag and drop it onto my player. And so I'm going to call this projectile, turn it into a prefab, alright, and then I'm going to delete it from my scene and drag and drop it inside of the inspector. So now if I hit play and click like a maniac, you'll see I'm spawning all these cool little projectiles. But of course we want these projectiles actually moving towards our cursor's position. So we're going to have to create another script, and I'm going to call this projectile, and open it up once again. Let me check the chat. Things seem to be going well. Again, if you've got any problems, ask me or my brother. Liam seems quite active in the chat. He can definitely help you out. But yeah, I think for now things are going really nicely. So what we need to do to get our projectiles actually moving towards our mouse cursor is as soon as they actually end. So we're going to make a private vector2 variable called target, and inside the start function I will set target equal to camera dot main dot screen to world point, and of course the input dot mouse position. So what this basically means is as soon as the projectile is spawned, its target variable will be equal to the cursor's position. And now what we want to do is get that projectile moving towards that target position, simply using, as usual, transform.position equals vector2.move towards. And I'll move from the projectile's current position all the way to the target position. Just type in target, no need for position here, I believe, because it's a vector2. And yeah, of course, make a public float speed variable to dictate how fast our projectile will be moving towards its target. So I'll type in speed times time dot delta time. And that should be working nicely. Don't forget the semicolon. I'll head into Unity, drag and drop, so grab my projectile prefab and add the projectile script to it. Yeah, let's put a speed in there of 15, for example. Hit play, and things are working really nicely. And you see here, the projectiles are actually moving towards my cursor's position at the moment where it was spawned. But they look a little dumb right now, just floating around the scene. It makes no sense. So as soon as they actually reach that target position, I'm going to get them to destroy themselves. So I'll do that in a moment. Let me check the chat. So SBO Productions is asking, where did the name Blackthornprod come from? Actually, it's a name I just came up with when I was, I think, 12-year-old. I really loved creating worlds on paper, just like fictional worlds, like, you know, World of Warcraft, Warhammer. I love those sort of worlds. So I decided to make my own world called Blackthorn. And yeah, I just stuck with that name afterwards and I called it Blackthornprod, just for Blackthorn production. But there's no deep thought really going into the name Blackthornprod. It's a name I came up with when I was, yeah, a kid. And I just stuck with it. But yeah, originally it was just the name of a world I was building on paper, drawing maps, all that stuff. But now it's become the name of my YouTube channel, and all of the games I make are under the name Blackthornprod. Okay. For 2D games, is it easier to use game making programs specific for 2D games? Interesting question. Well, I believe that Unity is amazing for 2D games and 3D games. I recommend Unity to absolutely anyone. But there is GameMaker, which is 2D specific, and it's really awesome apparently. I've never used it, but it is great. I don't know if it's easier to use than Unity, but yeah, if you're looking to only make 2D games, that could be something to check out, of course. Oh, hey Novacti! Novacti joined the chat, awesome. Okay. Things seem to be going nicely. Let's get those projectiles destroying themselves when they actually reach the target position. And the way I'm going to do that is simply make an if statement checking whether my current position is equal to the target's position. And if it is, I will just destroy the projectile using destroy game object. And now if I hit play, you'll see, oh, I get a bug. Huh, of course. No, I cannot do that. I cannot do that. How can I do it then? How can I check when it's actually reached its current position? I believe if I use transform.position is equal, wait, let me check. Is equal to target.position? Nah. I'm having a bug here, guys. This is strange. I'm probably very dumb. I just can't see it. Yes, of course. Thank you, Liam. Dot distance. Let me check. Vector2.distance. So basically, I'm going to be checking the distance between my current position and my target position. And if that is less than, let's say, 0.2f, then I will destroy my game object. And that should work. Bug, please go away. And it does. Thank you, Liam, for saving me there. Sometimes when I'm live, this is the second time, I do panic for no reason. And I get these silly bugs. And there you go, okay. Alright, guys. Awesome, things are working really well. I think I'm actually going to increase the speed of my projectile because it's a little too slow right now. I think 40. Yeah, let's put in a value of 40 there. Alright, great. So now we've got cool projectiles. There are no particle effects currently, but we'll maybe add them at the end of the live if things are not too long, if we've got some time left. Okay, so now what we're going to do is actually check for collisions by checking whether the enemies actually collide with the player, and if they do, then we want our player losing health. So let's actually make our health for our player. I'm going to make a public int variable called health. And I'm going to set this equal to 10 as a default value. And now when my enemies actually collide with the players, I'll use void on trigger enter 2D. And I'll pass in a parameter of type collider 2D called other. And so yeah, if what the enemy has collided with is a player, so I'll write other dot compare tag player, then we want the player losing health, so I'll type player losing health has a comment. Of course, we actually need to grab a reference to our player character, so I'll make a private variable of type player called player, simply player, and simply set that equal. Actually, I'm going to copy paste this, change that to player, and I'll set that equal to the game object of type player, and more precisely the player component script attached to that game object. I hope that makes sense. But it's going to work, I promise you guys. All I need to do now is type player.health minus, and now my player will lose 1 health point whenever my enemy collides with it. I'm also going to get my enemy to destroy himself as soon as he actually collides with that player. So I'll just write destroy game objects, and now things should work really well. Oh yeah, I'll also debug.log that health value to make sure things are working nicely. So I'll write player.health inside of these parentheses. Let me test this out inside of Unity. Oh, of course, when testing for collisions, don't forget to add colliders to your game objects. So I'll need to add a circle collider to my player. Make sure it's not too big, so I'll decrease the radius ever so slightly. A cool trick when decreasing the radius or tweaking the offset of a collider is holding down Alt, and so yeah, you'll get a much more precise, it'll be a lot more precise when tweaking its radius or offsets. And of course, don't forget to add a circle collider to the enemies, and I'll make sure to decrease the radius of that as well. Hit apply, and there we go, things should work nicely. Oh yeah, don't forget to set the circle collider 2D to isTrigger, because remember, we're checking on trigger enter 2D. And hitting play, I hope things will work nicely. And they do. Awesome. Health 9. And you see my enemy destroys himself. My player's losing health. Things are coming along really well. Alright, now I think it's time for our player, to actually shoot down the enemies. So we're going to do that in just a moment. Let me make sure there are no questions in the chat. Okay. Okay, things have been alright. Hey man, would you ever need someone else to make music for your games? Oh my. Dig the DJ. That is exactly what I need. That's exactly what I need. Music. For those of you who followed me for a few months now at least, you'll know that music is my weak point. I'm not really good at music. I've not spent much time on it. I use a software called, I'm not going to pronounce the name because I always pronounce it wrong. It's called something like Bosca Sea Oil. I probably pronounced that terribly, but it works really well, except yeah, I'm really not good at music. I do not very good musics. You can hear my music in my Let 'em Dare games. I actually made the music for those. But yeah, I'm always searching for someone to help me with the audio part of my game. Hey Noah, can you make a video about tips and tricks in Unity? Actually, I would really enjoy making that sort of tutorial. I know that Brackies has already did 2 cool tips and tricks videos, but if I actually find some that he hasn't already covered, I'll be really happy to make a video on that topic, definitely. Oh, Christy's saying that I pronounced Bosca Sea Oil right. Awesome. Awesome. Instead of using get component type of transform, why not use... Oh, yes, I see what you mean. Yes, guys, he's completely right. Instead of using .get component transform, you could just type in .transform and that would still work perfectly. Thanks for pointing that out, Christy. Very, very good. Yeah, you can do that. Don't need to write as much code. Yeah, Nice Developer says that FL Studio is a great software to make music for your games. Huh, I'll have to check that out. I'll definitely check that out later. Awesome, anywhere we can get more in contact. Well, you can join my Discord server. The link is in the description, so if you want to be able to chat with me, that's a great place to be. I also announce all my videos on that server. You can talk with really great people on there about game development, share your art. So yeah, definitely join the Discord server. The link is in the description of this live stream. Yeah, I highly recommend you do that, guys. It'll be awesome. Awesome. Demon Strong is saying that seeing me do this inspires him to follow his dreams. Man, I'm so happy that that's the case. It's so nice to hear. Thanks. Okay, guys. So let's actually continue with this game by getting our projectiles hurting the enemy. So inside of my enemy script and of the onTriggerEnter2D function, I'll make another if statement, this time checking if what the enemy has collided with is a projectile. So other.compare tag projectile, and if that's the case, then we want our enemy character destroying himself, and that should work marvels. That's all we really need to do. Of course, don't forget to add a circle collider to your projectile, or the collisions will not be detected. And make sure to lower the radius a little. For some reason my sprites are a little large. Alright, hit apply. And don't forget to add a projectile tag as well. So I'll type in projectile and then just add that tag right up here. Okay, and now if I hit play, actually before hitting play, I'll just increase slightly the enemy speed to 15. They're a little slow right now. And moving around the scene, you'll see some enemies spawning around the map, and I can shoot them. Oh, it's not working. I wonder why. So they've got their circle collider 2D. Let me make sure I typed in projectile correctly. That is the case. The reason this is happening is because my projectile needs a 2D rigid body of type kinematic. That should work, of course. At least one object has to have rigid bodies when you're detecting collisions in Unity. There we go. And now you'll see that my enemies destroy themselves when they collide with a projectile. And I think it'll be great if I also destroy the projectile when it comes into contact with the enemy. So I will type in other. Now I'll type in simply destroy other.gameObject. So in other words, I'll destroy the projectile that collides with the enemy. And you know what? We've actually finished more or less the base of this 2D top-down shooter. Now all we need to really do is add cool particle effects, add UI elements. What else can we add? Yeah, screen shake, of course. And let's also reload the scene when the player falls to 0 health. That's really easy to do. I'm going to check the chat first of all before actually reloading the scene when the player reaches 0 health. Let me see. Dude, you go so fast in 5 minutes back in the stream. Sometimes the things you do don't work for me. Oh, I'm very sorry for that. It's true that I might be going fast. I'm trying to squeeze in everything in less than 1 hour. But of course the stream I'll be uploading it on YouTube. So you can always go back in, pause the video and follow along a little more smoothly. I'll try and go a little slower from now on, though the stream is almost finished, but yeah, I'll try going a little slower. Thanks for pointing that out, man. I have an issue with referencing my player object. From the enemy script, if that's the case, make sure you typed in this line of code, and also make sure that the player has the player tag. Very important to have the player tag or the enemy will not find him. Hopefully that helps you. This 32-bit demon's asking if I can make a 3D top-down shooter, or a 3D shooter. That could be cool. That could be a cool tutorial series. I'll definitely think about making that. Though there are already quite a few YouTube series already out there that cover that topic. Okay, so let me get my scene reloading when the player dies. To do this, I need to type in Unity Engine .scene management up here so we can actually tweak, so we can actually play around with loading scenes inside of this script. You need to write this, it's vital. And in my update function, I'll be making an if statement checking whether the player's health. Oh my goodness, am I that silly? I was actually writing all this inside of the enemy script. Let's write it inside the player script. That should be a lot better for us. And okay, inside the update function, I'll check whether health is less or equal to 0. If it is, all we need to do is type in scene manager .load scene, and more precisely, we want to load our current scene. So I'll type in get active scene .build index, and what this strange line of code will actually do is simply reload our current scene. That should work really nicely. I'll just put the player's health to 1 so we can quickly see if this works well. Let's wait for some enemies to spawn. I'll charge into him, and there we go. The scene reloaded itself very smoothly. Alright guys, so the stream has already been lasting for 49 minutes. I think we've got time to put in some UI, polish this up a little bit more, so I'll go here and create a UI element of type text. And first things first, I'm going to make sure that my canvas scales with the screen size, so 1600 for X and 900 for Y. And I'll move this up right here, so the top left corner of my screen. Change the color to white so we can see it a little better, also increase its size, and I'll just call this health equals 10 for example. Okay, I'll also maybe lower this ever so slightly. And now what we need to do, I'm going to call this health display, is via script make this health display well our health value. This is very easy stuff. Up here I'm going to use another namespace, this one of type, so Unity Engine.UI. I'll then create a public text variable. We need to type in this or we won't be able to use any UI related stuff inside of our script. So that's another very important namespace to add when playing around with Unity's UI. So I'll create a public text variable called health display. And then inside of my update function, I'll just type in health display dot text is equal to health, little space there, plus health. And now our text should easily and properly display our actual health value, which is really cool, really simple stuff. Don't forget to actually drag and drop this inside of the player script. I'll hit play. And indeed, it displays my health value. In this case, I've only got 1 health. But if I typed in, for example, 10, it would display 10. Awesome. All right. Well, I did promise also that I would show you how to make a cool little twist where upon missing an enemy, we'll actually spawn an enemy. We can do this very easily by simply going inside of my projectile script, creating a public game object variable of type enemy, and if the projectile actually reaches its target position before colliding with an enemy, then we know that it's missed its target. So all I need to do now is instantiate, right before it's destroyed, an enemy character at its current position and with no rotation. And now, drag and dropping an enemy inside of the projectile empty slot, I can hit play, and you'll see that if I miss, an enemy is spawned. Easy, awesome, and hopefully you've understood all this. If you haven't, tell me so in the chat, and I'll answer your questions. Let me see what's going on here. No, that isn't the issue. The variable name goes red. Well, let's say I can't. Private Cooper asking Liam if he knows how to make a health bar turn more red. The less red you have, less health you have, of course. Okay, that's maybe a topic for another day. It's quite hard to answer that right now, but maybe you can use animations, Private Cooper. So if, for example, health is equal to 2, then you could make your health maybe play a beeping red animation or something of the sort. Chris is asking about a video on particle systems. That's something I definitely want to do. You know what? Let me actually make a cool little particle effect right here live and get it to spawn whenever the player kills an enemy. So I'll make a effect, a particle system. You can see it right here. It looks very ugly for now. I'm going to be going quite fast right now, but I will be making a whole tutorial on that in the very near future. I've already got lots of requests on that topic, so yeah, I'll definitely be doing that when I finish this live probably. So first things first, I'm going to change the material of my particle effect. I'll change it to the sprite defaults, and what this is going to allow me to do is actually make my particles, each individual particle, an actual sprite, which is really neat. So I'll change this texture sheet animation to sprites. And now I can choose what sprite I want for each particle. I'll choose this little round particle. And now I've got this much nicer shape instead of those squares that don't really go well with the style of the game, which is very round. And I'll change the emission to something, so I don't want it looping, I just want it in one single burst. I'll change the emission, the duration to 0.1 seconds. And the emission, I want it to be one single burst. Maybe 50 particles, something of the sort. That looks rather cool. I'm also going to change, of course, the shape to, instead of a cone, turn it into a circle. And rotate that circle. Excuse me, I'm going to drink some water. And so I'm going to change the rotation to 90 degrees, no, 0 degrees. That looks good. And what the real technique here is really just tweak it, making all these different values random, so random between two constants. So for example, lifetime, I'll make it last between 2 and 1 seconds. I'll give each particle a random speed. So maybe 5 and 15, let's test that out. Looks cool already. I'll also give each particle a random size, maybe between 0.2 and 0.75. Let's test that out. Cool. Let's get those particles lowering their size over a lifetime, so the closer they come to their death, the smaller they get, which normally looks really nice. So I'll toggle on the size over lifetime, and for the graph, I'll make sure that they're big at first, and that they gradually grow smaller. And that looks really nice, as you'll see right there. Let's also give them a random color maybe, so random between two colors. Let's maybe get them, okay, let's turn this one red and this one maybe a darker red. Okay, looks pretty cool. Of course, take your time with this. I'm rushing this process because I want to answer some of your questions maybe at the end of the live, which has already lasted almost an hour. Okay, that looks cool. Now let's get this to instantiate via script. So I'll call this effect, turn it into a prefab by dragging and dropping it inside of the prefabs folder, delete it from my scene view, and inside of my enemy script, I'll make a public game object called effect, and then I will instantiate that whenever it actually collides with the player or it collides with a projectile. So I'll type in instantiate, and I will instantiate my effect at the enemy's current position and with no rotation as usual. I'll then just copy and paste that line underneath this if statement, head back into Unity, grab my enemy character, drag and drop the effect inside of that empty slot, and hitting play, I'll have some cool effects. That should definitely add some extra life to my scene. And okay, looks awesome. Of course, take more time with the effects, perhaps add a screen shake. That could really just make the scene look all that much better. Alright, things are working nicely. Cool, alright, that's going to mark the end of this live stream. Hopefully you've picked up a trick or two. Sorry if I've been going fast, I must say. This is only my second live stream. I need to practice this. But again, I've had loads of fun. And so let me answer some of your questions. How about some camera shake for another video? There are already quite a few tutorials on that topic, though I would like to make maybe a separate tutorial on how to make camera shake using the animator. It will be a very small video, but it could be interesting. So instead of writing a long script, just show you guys that you could create a camera shake just, with a few animation tips and tricks. Oh, Retrosparge is asking for a shout out. Well, hello Retrosparge, and thanks so much for joining the stream. Really, it means so much to me. I'm having a great time. Really, I really love just making a game with you guys, helping you out. So if you've got a request for any tutorials, just shoot ahead, tell me what you would like, and I'll definitely consider it for the near future. Can you add loading from JSON for dialogue system? Interesting. I must say I'm not really familiar with that coding language. I'm more of an artist / designer. That's really where my passion lies. and game development, of course. So the only programming language I actually know is C#. C# is really just a way for me to learn how to make games, actually make games. But yeah, I'm not a pro coder. That's more my brother, who's really into coding, and he knows a bunch of languages. So who knows, he might make a tutorial on that topic on the channel. Dimension's asking, yeah, if I can make a tutorial for networking for multiplayer. Again, I'm not really a programmer, so multiplayer is not something I've actually had a look at yet. I've not even tried making a multiplayer game. But who knows, in the future, that's definitely something I might cover. Oh, so Ishar Singh is asking for a 3D controller script with double jump, dash, and charged attack. So I've covered a lot of those topics for 2D, but I haven't really done so for 3D. So yeah, that's also something I might cover on the channel, of course. Thanks for that request, definitely. Oh, 32-bit Demon is asking if I've ever considered trying a different game engine. I actually, when I just started game development, I was using a game engine called Construct 2. It's really great for making small 2D games, especially cool if you don't want to program anything. It's just got this very simple drag and drop interface. But yeah, ever since coming across Unity, I've never really tried any other engine. I've not tried Unreal Engine, Game Maker, because Unity has just been so awesome. Though yeah, who knows, in the future I might test out those engines. I might. It could be cool. I'm just going to drink some water. Retrosparsh said he watched the very first Photoshop animation video. Cool, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful for you. I definitely enjoyed making that one because, again, animation and art is my real passion. I absolutely love doing that sort of thing. Yeah, Unity is awesome. That is definitely true. Alright, guys, so ask away. I'm going to end the stream in around 5 minutes. It's already lasted a long time. And again, I will be uploading this to YouTube, so if you want to follow along and make this 2D shooter a more calm, easy pace, then yeah, definitely check that out. I'll release it sometime tomorrow, I think. And of course, you should also have a brand new tutorial on the channel Tuesday or Wednesday, so stay tuned. Okay, I'm glad it helped you a lot, Retro. Retro, you subscribed. Awesome. Alright, guys. Well, if you've got no more questions, then I'm going to end the stream. Oh, you should try a low poly art style. You know, I absolutely love that art style. I've not done many 3D games in a long time. As you've seen in my devlogs and all that stuff, I've really been focusing on 2D. Though yeah, who knows, in 3D I might return to 3D in the future, though I must say I'm really into 2D lately. I'm a hell of a time making my 2D games, but low poly art style is a favorite of mine, so making a tutorial on low poly art style could be really cool. Oh, Mario is asking if I can make a tutorial that covers the 2D Cinemachine camera. Oh, and I would also love to know how to do scene transitions like in the Zelda games. You know, scene transitions was something I was really planning on making. Probably even this week you'll see a video on that topic. As for 2D Cinemachine, that's something I'll also have to check out. I've not actually had a look at that yet. I did look at the Brackeys tutorial, which was pretty awesome. But yeah, I could also maybe make a more in-depth video on that topic as well. Thanks for that request. Dimensions asking for collectibles. A collectible tutorial, that could be cool, yep. Julian is saying thank you for the stream. Oh man, thanks man. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Again, it was an awesome experience once again. And as I said in the first live stream, I'm planning on doing one live stream every month, minimum. So yeah, for all those who have missed this live stream and are looking at this on the channel, yeah, stay tuned. I'll probably be doing another live stream sometime in May. Maybe mid-May, end May, not sure. I'll have to see. But there'll definitely be another live stream in May. Oh, Mick Path is asking if I'm going to make a tutorial about 2D slopes. That would be really cool. That would be a fascinating tutorial topic. And I think really useful. So yeah, I'll Man, there's so many tutorials I could make. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely consider that. Thanks a lot. Alright, so... Oh, hello, how about making 2.5D game like Don't Starve? I love that game. I really love Don't Starve. That could be really interesting. Also, very interesting. Alright, guys, you guys have given me so many ideas for tutorials. So yeah, you can expect many coming out this week. Next week, sorry. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. I'm so excited to bring Blackthornprod to the next level. Man, there's too many tutorial requests now. How to make a menu. Oh, actually, I've got a tutorial on that topic. How to make a great main menu, it's called. One of my older videos. And it should cover... yeah, it goes on about how to make a cool main menu, how to make responsive AI... how to make responsive UI, buttons, all that stuff. So, definitely have a look at that. Free TV. You might find something useful there. Alright, ZAR says, bye Noah, have a good day. Have a good day, you two. And thanks for watching the stream. Thanks for the support. It really means a lot. Okay, guys, so yeah, Private Cooper says, write the ideas down. That's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to end the live and, yeah, get cracking on all those cool tutorial topics you guys suggested. Alright. Have a great day. See you very soon on the channel. Cheers, guys.